All righty, here we go. It is episode 69 of the OGs podcast. Jason Bertitas, and there he is, Mr. H. Mays. Where's say H?
Episode 69, man. You got to have a little more energy coming on with that number.
I need a little more alacrity here.
A little more oomph. Yeah, alacrity. That was one of Tony's favorite words. Probably still is. Alacrity.
I'm excited today. We've got the great Tim McManus on the program.
Well, yeah, it's time to have Tim McManus on the program because the Eagles back at camp. We got the Hall of Fame game, which I think is the Browns against the Jets on Thursday night, and that's always the first preseason game. So, it's here. It's time to talk football. It's legit. We got trade deadline today in baseball.
Right?
A lot of people thinking that the Phillies are one, maybe two moves. They're looking at outfielders. They're looking at pitchers. They need a lot. Yeah, right. Mike Trout. Yeah, Shohei Ohtani. I think he's coming here. But they have the same record right now as they did back in 2008. I just saw that put out on Twitter.
You falling for that old gag, Harry?
What old gag?
I love they take these sample windows, compare them year to year.
Yeah.
John put this out. Phillies are 32-17 since June 3rd. Only the Braves have a better record. Baseball's the marathon. But, I mean, look, it doesn't mean that they're going to win a World Series because it's the same record as 08. I think 93, they're ahead of that team, too.
Yeah, they might have been. I'm just saying, because it's been a weird season. They look like a little league team this weekend in Pittsburgh. I caught a bunch of those games, and their fielding is absolutely atrocious. They're dropping pop-ups in the infield. They're missing cutoff men. The center fielder goes to retrieve the ball, drops it, has to run back another 10 yards to go pick it up. I mean, they look totally disorganized and like not a professional baseball team. But frankly, who cares about baseball? It's time to talk football.
Nobody cares about baseball, Harry.
Nobody cares.
We're talking about jersey sales, and there
That's right.
Is. We knew this guy when he was a pup, Harry.
Huh.
Just a cub reporter, but he has plowed his way to stardom. He is incredible at the job. From ESPN, ESPN.com. It is the one and only Tim McManus. T-Mac, what's up?
What's going on, boys?
I remember that this week in pro football days were vintage. Oh man, I used to love that show, and I think your old partners now moved on to political radio. If I stand correct.
That man does it all. Pat Callahan.
Pat Callahan.
You can't hold him back, Harry.
He's awesome. Love that guy.
He's bursting at the seams to get his political stuff off on This Week in Pro Football. I had to hold him back.
Oh, is that right? Did that go all the way back to those days?
Oh, please. Yeah, he's he's a beaut.
Oh,
he's a beaut. I'll be joining him on This Week in Pro Football a few times this year. So
nice.
Yeah, nice. The old band back together.
Beautiful.
Was it Matt Lombardo that called your other partner Shio Kapadia? Capadia?
It's disrespectful.
I know. Yeah. Come on, man.
Get that man's name right.
Tim, how's it been? You have an offseason in the NFL. It's not really much of an offseason because it's plotted so perfectly to keep the kind of NFL and everybody's sports consciousness. But now you're back at camp. It's the grind of a season. First of all, how was your offseason and what's it been like getting back in the grind?
So offseason was great. It's truncated, I guess, because when the team you cover gets all the way to the big dance, the next week you wake up and it's, all the offseason stuff's already happening. It's like the combine and they're getting right into that, and free agency flows off of that and then into the draft and then into OTAs. And so it all sort of continues to go, but I was able to get away for a little bit, got up to Maine with the family, just got back from there last week. You guys ever been up there?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I have not. Me and my wife were talking about it last week, though. Got to be beautiful.
Jason, it's unbelievable.
Like Acadia National Park and Camden, Maine, or a couple places I remember going up there as a kid.
Yeah, I stayed right by Camden, Harry.
Yeah.
We stayed in a lake house on Green Lake for a week, and it was like 15 degrees cooler than it was here when it was all swampy and upper 90s, and kids just played in the lake all day. Went to Acadia National Park, Bar Harbor. It was beautiful. But yeah, now rolling back into the season, and it's different. It's like a country club, compared to the way that the Eagles used to do it. I mean, they have a total of 9 practices, all training camp. Like Reed would get Reed would get that done in 4.5 days.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Now, is that team mandated, or is that a league thing, or a combo of the both?
So it's so the CBA has made it so you can't practice as much as you used to be able to do. So the 2-a-days are a thing of the past for everybody. But then, so there's restrictions they're working within, but then the Eagles take it to the extreme of that. So they are basically pushing it and getting as little work as they can in, all in the name of staying healthy, right? We saw it last year where I think it was 12 practices they did. And of course they stayed really healthy. They got to the Super Bowl. So there's not going to be a ton of scrutiny on that, but they've taken even another measure and say, all right, how can we reduce it further? Yeah. And so like every other day is off. There's no training camp flow like there used to be, where you're just in it and like that's it, and that's your existence, and you're in Lehigh and you're sweating, and it's 2-a-days, and there's pads popping all the time. It's not that anymore. It's in comparison, it's country club.
What's the off days consist of though? They're not sitting on the beach eating bonbons on the off days. They're probably film and off the field type stuff, I would imagine.
Yeah, so they made it more mental. It's basically like they're doing a bunch of walkthroughs on the days that we don't have access to them, which honestly has been like every other day that they've been down, no media access. And so they're in there doing their walkthroughs and their team meetings, and Sirianni trying to keep them sharp situationally. What are you going to be doing here, and X, Y, and Z? So it's not like they're not working. It's just it's in a very different way.
What has the environment been like? And I know it's only been a couple of days, but there's a lot of expectations now on this squad. I mean, this team is the second favorite to win the Super Bowl next to Kansas City. They're expected to basically, not have a walk through the NFC. I know San Francisco will be tough, and Dallas, could be a problem. But outside of that, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of competition, at the highest level. How has that atmosphere been down there, knowing all of that?
Yeah, so I find this fascinating because, the stat is that not since the 1974 Vikings has an NFC team gone to the Super Bowl one year and then gotten back to that game the next. So there's this long gap in NFL's history for this to happen. And that's obviously, the Eagles' charge is what they want to do. And so Sirianni has this kind of weird line to toe in my mind of making sure that the team doesn't forget about that. And obviously they, and use that as motivation without sort of dwelling on that. So he started off his offseason training program by having a team meeting, getting in front of everybody in that auditorium and having a big picture of all the players walking off of the field in Arizona with the Chiefs red and gold confetti falling on their heads as kind of like a tempo setter here. But also to remind them, like, just to get to that spot, requires every little step along the way. And so, it's a matter of keeping focus. And I would say that Sirianni has been pretty good. Like the first 2 days, he made it a point to really get on them when they started slipping in practice. There was like 5 offensive, defensive line, pre-snap infractions within 6 plays, like five penalties in 6 plays. And he took out his bullhorn, and he started chewing out, everybody that was in earshot of that. And he had the same thing on the second day and basically saying, like, you want to lose to a bad team, like this is how you lose. And so he's very much like trying to get them into the moment. And the message, I think, from the top of the organization on down is like, last year's over. You get nothing for your accomplishments last year. And so that's been the messaging. And, at least to this point, I think it's been well received.
Tim, the evolution of a young coach, I think, is one of those really fascinating elements in sports. Like you see guys, they come in, Sirianni as a rookie head coach, and he's trying to find his voice both publicly, forward facing with the media and fan base. And then he's also trying to find his voice in the locker room and how, he carries himself and treats his players. How have you seen that element of Sirianni evolve? Especially now, I would think it would change a little bit because he's had success now. He went to Super Bowl, and that'll certainly change a coach.
Yeah. I just feel like it's all a little bit more natural now. We know how, when he first got this gig, like how he sort of stumbled out of the gates publicly, and there's a lot of people questioning, like, who is this dude and why is he the head coach? And it didn't go very well for him or for the team early on. And that only exasperated things. And then, we started to find his footing. So even though there's been a lot of the outside questions about Sirianni. It seems like, at least internally amongst the players, he's always been working very hard to establish kind of establish a culture of trust and communication that I think went a long way with the players, even when he was getting, boxed in, and getting his head punched in, at least verbally through the media when he was having his struggles. And since then, he's become sort of a good guy for opposing teams and fan bases to hate, with his mugging for the camera and all that sort of stuff. That doesn't, that aggravates other people. And I think has endeared himself to people in that locker room and people around Philadelphia, especially as they've started winning. And now it all Jason, just all feels kind of natural. Like he's the head man and everybody knows it. And you can see him finding a different player almost every day. During the course of practice today, it was like Devontae Smith, where he just goes over and he starts having a conversation with the guys. So he's always kind of building relationships in subtle and big ways. And but this is a big year. I mean, you can do it. You got to the dance, and now can you show that you can sustain that kind of success? I think that's his mission this year.
Well, yeah, early on, there was a lot of question marks about Nick Sirianni. And then, they started to play the games. And then as they, either won or lost or even won, but didn't quite win the way the fan base thought they should have won, the coordinators got a lot of the flack. But now Steichen and Gannon are both gone as moved on. So what's your impression of the new guys, Johnson and Desai as offensive and defensive coordinators?
Yeah, well, Brian Johnson, I think he could be a head coach like next year. Maybe.
He was great on the Back in Black album too.
Exactly right. Look, that's good AC/DC knowledge out of you. Every time I punch Brian Johnson's name into a Google search, I quickly am reminded, like, oh, right, he's not the most famous Brian Johnson that's out there. But he was kind of a hot commodity this off season. A lot of different teams were hoping that he would end up becoming their offensive coordinator. And just talking to some people who were involved in that process, the response from other teams was like, this guy's going to be a head coach very quickly. We know the relationship that he has with Hurts. It dates all the way back to when he was 4 years old. He's been kind of like a young star in every spot that he's had. He's credited with helping Dak Prescott become Dak Prescott. And Kyle Trask, like helping him to like really high heights in Florida. And then obviously look what he's done with Hurts. And now he takes over the entire offense. And one of the early things that we've heard is like he's spending a lot of time in the offensive line room, which is something that Jason Kelce really took a note of. And I think was encouraged by, where he wants to find out the intricacies of everything that's going on. So he has a good grasp of where the strength and weaknesses is on each particular play. And so, I don't think it's going to be a big transition going from Steichen to Brian Johnson. But, Sean Desai's got, I think, he's got a higher degree of difficulty because, he's coming in and they lost 5 of their 11 starters on the defensive side. So he's got to implement his scheme and also do it with, almost 50% turnover on the defensive side. And so the early indications, what we're getting is there's not going to be, I think, a big change in philosophy. They both come from Vic Fangio, so you can expect a lot of zone. I think you can expect a lot of 2 safety looks, but he's got to put his own stamp on it, and he wants it to be an aggressive brand of football and a physical brand of football too. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that all comes together for him.
Tim, Hassan Reddick, there's always a couple of ancillary storylines at camp, especially for a team that went to the Super Bowl. Guys want to get paid, the NFL contracts aren't guaranteed. You got to strike while the iron's hot, all of that. Reddick has been chirping that his contract, he's not getting paid enough. Is this going to become a distraction? How do they handle this?
Yeah, so we talked about that with him today, actually. And I opened up the conversation about the finances, and he's basically saying, like, I just have to focus on me and the other stuff will take care of itself. And basically said, I believe it will, hinting maybe he thinks he'll get taken care of here. But there's no denying that his contract got, out of whack pretty quickly relative to the rest of the pass rushers when you consider how the market kind of jumped and how his production jumped. He was talking this afternoon about him wanting to get to 20 sacks. Like, that's his next goal. So he's got very high standards that he's trying to live up to. There weren't any indications based off the conversations that we had today that he was, super upset about it or that it was going to impact him and how he approaches his job. But I think it's something that the Eagles are going to have to look at and take care of. He's what now, like somewhere around 15 or 16 among his peers in average salary per year. That doesn't match with where he ranks in terms of production. And so I think it would behoove the front office to take care of him a little bit. Bump it up and just like a sign of goodwill that we appreciate where you are. We recognize that this contract does not match your production now. And so, here's some added money until we get to the next contract. I think that would be good for all parties.
You talk about that defense and losing a couple of the starters. They made a couple of big draft picks over the last two drafts, in the first two rounds at defense, especially in the first round. Any of these guys jumping out at you, or do you think, like a Nakobe Dean, you're going to be able to step in at that middle linebacker spot this year?
Yeah, great question. So Jordan Davis, I would say, is one guy that has jumped out to me. He has been working with the first team almost exclusively. Like you've been seeing him alongside Fletcher Cox. So it's kind of clear to me based on what we're seeing early here that they have high expectations for his role and what he can do. And even though he said he came in around the same weight, around 340, 345 pounds, he looks lighter on his feet. And a lot of the time, like you're trying to decipher what's real and what's not. And one way that I try to decipher that is when players or coaches say things that, isn't forced. They take it upon themselves to note their observations. We heard that from Brandon Graham and some of the coaches about Jordan Davis, that he came in to this camp with not only better condition, but with a higher level of focus. And Graham attributed that in part to the fact he's got his Georgia boys with him. And so it seems like he's in a good place mentally. And then Nolan Smith will be another guy that I would say, given the environment, they just threw on pads for the first time. So it's hard to judge a lot of these guys. But Smith can fire off the edge. He's really fast. And there was a 3-play sequence the other day, Harry, that jumped out to me, where on the one play, he rips into the backfield and gets like a quote unquote sack. The next play, he has to guard Dallas Goedert out in the flat, shuts him down. And then the next one, it's Boston Scott, where he's going out like 15, 20 yards downfield, and Nolan Smith runs with him the entire way, stride for stride, and takes away that option. And it's like, oh, okay. So this guy has some versatility too. And then, today during one-on-ones, he put on a dip move on a guy that just made him look silly, and he got right to the quarterback. And so I would say those two guys have stood out to me early on. And Nakobe Dean, not as much. Haven't seen him flash a ton, but he's been in the center of that defense. And, especially his Georgia brethren believe that he is ready for that job. And, he better be, right? It's a big spot.
Tim, speaking of big spots, none bigger in the NFL than the quarterback position. Jalen Hurts, I mean, when he was first drafted, a lot of people, myself included, really questioned it. But this is a guy that is just such an elite competitor and professional. What has the evolution of Jalen Hurts been like to kind of watch for you as you've gone through the way he's matured and found his voice?
I mean, it's been amazing. So one guy that he's like his longtime quarterback trainer, Quincy Avery, I had that conversation with him last year, and he said that he's never seen an evolution like this from a quarterback to go from where he was, where it's like when some of these guys, like even Brian Johnson, when he saw him young, or Quincy Avery first got a hold of him, mechanically, it just didn't look right. It was a little bit wonky. And those kind of things, not everything lined up. And then flash forward to this camp, as I'm watching him on the first day of camp, and the two words that came across when I was watching his delivery were effortless and accurate. And I was like, and I wrote that down, and then I thought about that as like, if you would have even told me last year that those were the two words that I'd be writing down to describe Jalen Hurts, that seemed far-fetched at the time. So he's taking these massive strides. And now he is in another year in Sirianni and now Johnson's offense. It looks like everything is on time. He's been really good this training camp. And the most recent one we saw, he was just him and AJ Brown were just ripping it up. And this is with James Bradbury on AJ Brown. It's just like back shoulder here, 50-yard bomb down, like just boom, boom. It's all on point. And so it's just there's not a whole lot of comparable history, to draw back on when you're looking at Hurts. Like a lot of times when a guy has accuracy problems coming out of college, it doesn't get fixed. Like you've heard that saying before, like you can't fix accuracy, but
kind of is what it is.
Apparently you can.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
With a great work ethic, and we knew pretty early on that he had that. And, he checked all those intangible boxes very early on, and over the last season and a half, he's checking them off on the field as well. So it's a great thing to see. Now, what did you think about the running back shuffle? Sanders is gone. He got some pretty good money, I guess, in Carolina, and they bring a couple of named guys in here that have a lot of injuries in their history too. If these guys can stay on the field, this is going to be a genius call. It looks great on paper from a cap perspective as to what they're spending all in compared to what they would have had to have spent. But what's the thought process here about all the injury history for some of these guys?
Well, the one thing that stands out immediately is remember this time last year, Nick Sirianni couldn't make it known enough. He's like, Miles Sanders is my guy. Miles Sanders is number one. Miles Sanders is that dude. And, there is none of that this year. In fact, it's hard to decipher like who is going to be actually the lead back, or like all five of these guys have been taking reps with the first team. And that includes Trey Sermon. So you've seen Trey Sermon, and you've seen Boston Scott, and you've seen Kenny Gainwell, and you've seen DeAndre Swift, and you've seen Rashad Penny, and they're all getting equal time right now. So it's very much, in my mind, a clouded picture. Add in the fact of the injury history, and it clouds it even further. It's like, well, is Penny going to make the team, or is he going to be the lead back? Like it could be both. But I know that they feel like if he is healthy, he could, he can be dynamite. Just picture him next to Jalen Hurts, healthy behind this offensive line. It's not hard to picture Penny doing that. And so we're still trying to get a feel for, what the rotation might look like. I guess the one thing that we can say is that I think that the running backs are going to be featured more in the passing game this year. We've seen a lot of it with DeAndre Swift. Like DeAndre Swift has been motioning into the slot. He's been motioning out to the far receiver, and he's been prominent in the passing game and to this point, and has looked how you would expect him to look, especially before pads. Like he gets in open space and that guy can move. So he's looked good early. Kenny Gainwell has been breaking off some nice runs and getting involved in passing game. We saw Boston Scott on a screen, take it downfield and look good as well. So that's what I think we'll see a little bit more wrinkled in. Now you can't go crazy with the running backs in the pass game because you got AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert, but I think we'll see more of that feature this year.
Tim, Jason Kelsey's played now parts of 12 NFL seasons. He may be the best, low pick, I should say, in Eagles history. A 6th round pick, 191st overall. He's only missed games in 2 seasons of his 12. Other than that, he plays every game, all 16, 17 the last 2 years. And he's a guy, Harry and I have talked about it. There's been no guy that kind of has identified with this city like him. I think even more so than Iverson, to be honest with you. And just, I think he's going to end up being a Hall of Famer. And the fact that he's still here and playing, he and Brandon Graham, what does that element of those two veterans on each side of the ball bring to the equation? Because I think you got to have guys like that. Sometimes they can't play great anymore, but both of those guys can.
Yeah, and I think they set the standard, makes it easy for the coaching staff. It's like, just kind of follow these guys. This is what you're supposed to do. This is how you're supposed to do it.
This is how we do things.
This is how we do it. And so Jalen Carter had mentioned Brandon Graham, saying that he's been one of the primary influences since he got into the building. He was like one of the first guys to go up to him. He's the kind of guy that you want in your corner because he shows you the ropes and he doesn't do it like he's not worried about anything other than, trying to help you be better in all facets. And then Kelsey, I think Cam Jurgens is probably like the best way to, like, using his example is the best way to describe how valuable they view Kelsey, because he's essentially Kelsey is blocking Jurgens from where he's going to end up as the starting center. And so you would think there'd be this like part of you anyway would be like, all right, I kind of want him to retire so I can
get out of my way.
I can take over this offense. And yet, like, he couldn't have been happier to see Kelsey come back. And Kelsey even called him, was like, dude, I'm sorry, I'm coming back another year. And Jurgen's like, you don't have anything to apologize to me for. You owe me nothing. And like the entire room is like, you know, when it was undecided whether he was coming back, they're like anytime they could get it out publicly, like begging him to. And then once he did come back, it's a celebration. And even we saw in the most recent practice, actually on that Boston Scott screen that I was talking about, Kelsey gets out in space and just wipes Terrell Edmonds like out of the picture, as we've seen.
Still run, man.
100 times. He still gets out there. Yep. He's galloping. He's taking people out. And yeah, if you can do both, right? If you can do it on the field and off, then that's what you want.
He does nice work in Havertown and at the Jersey Shore too.
Damn right.
You know,
Pound of beers.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, I think
guy.
I think we got to get to it, Jason. The Kelly Green. Was Tim McManus in line at 3 a.m. to get his Kelly Green jersey?
Hell no.
Jeez, there were people.
I saw a lot of people. I saw a lot of people like, I just went online at 9:02 and bought mine. Like, what are these people thinking?
It was like the old Ticketron days when Led Zeppelin tickets would go on sale and you'd line up early.
Yeah.
Remember that?
It's unbelievable. And I was actually talking with a couple of my editors yesterday, and they were like, you know, should we explore this Kelly Green thing? And they're like, and they're not from here, so they're like trying to understand it. And I'm trying to explain it. Like, Kelly Green goes back to, you know, a lot of people's childhoods. It goes back to basically where the identity of the Eagles was forged for a lot of people. It was Buddy Ryan, Reggie White, Randall Cunningham,
Seth Joyner,
right?
You know?
right. But it's like something that's like seeped inside of people in this area. Like, it goes beyond the jersey. Clearly, like, if you're tailgating for a jersey to come out at 3:30 in the morning, you know, obviously it runs deeper than that. And also there's like a lot of blockades that they had to overcome for a lot of years. They're trying to make this push to get the Kelly Greens in, and the NFL was, you know, making them go through a lot of hoops. So that, yes, the day has come, and they celebrated early. But what's so crazy is that at least the Kelly Green that I remember, I know they've had different incarnations of green throughout their history. Back in the 60s, it was Kelly Green, and then it went to a darker green, you know, with Jaws in the 70s. But then at like 85, I think they changed to this sort of a brighter green that they're reissuing here. From 85 to 95, they had those uniforms and won 2 playoff games.
Yeah, that's the funniest part.
That was one of the most underachieving crews of all time, with the defensive talent and offensive talent that they had. That, you know,
and yet they're held in so high.
Yes,
because of the identity aspect of it, Tim.
Just because they kicked everybody's ass.
Yeah,
physically.
Like bag game and all that shit.
Yeah, it was the defense. You know, Buddy. You know, brash Buddy, and the guy who would punch people on the sidelines and didn't take any trash, and
didn't shake Jimmy Johnson's hand.
Talking trash to Jimmy Johnson. Yeah,
he's gonna walk his fat ass over there.
I mean, it matters in this town, though, doesn't it? Like,
it does.
Like Jonathan Gannon, his defense had 70 sacks, and the team got to the Super Bowl, and that guy will always be alienated from this town. And a lot of it's like the not only how it finished, clearly, but even before that, like, people never warmed up to him because of the style of play that he deployed. It never fit the fabric of the city.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think part of the Buddy thing, and part of it too, is the NFL strike, and that Buddy supported the players the way he did in a union town. I think that's even part of it too. You know, fitting the identity of where you are geographically. I mean, some of these people were spending $1,500, $2,000 worth of jerseys out there. I'm going, oh, this is some racket.
Yeah.
They got going on. Holy shit.
They
do look good, though. I got to give it to them.
They do look nice. I'll give them that. But this hasn't been the most successful franchise in the world. No, you know, they didn't like, when we're looking back on that era, it was like, you know, they had 80, and then they had 60, but there wasn't a whole lot. And so what they grasped onto was, like you said, Jason, the identity.
Yeah.
That's
and Bednaric's part of that.
Don't forget 48 and 49.
Yeah. Greasy Neilhar.
But then, okay, it's cool. They're wearing them, and they're going to wear them twice, from what I understand,
November 5th,
against the Dolphins and the Bills. Why don't
Yeah.
they bust this out against the Cowboys?
I totally agree. Do you imagine the building?
Yes.
Not like it's already juiced up and lubed up enough.
Carmichael
Right.
in the house.
Yeah. Amazing. I'm totally with you. When I saw that, I was like, that's a little disappointing. Like,
It is.
maybe they'll have the throwbacks for Miami as well. And so that'll look cool.
They are.
optically.
It's Miami and Buffalo, I think, are the two games from what I saw.
And Miami has pretty sweet throwbacks too that they're busting out. So if they're on the same night, then I get that. But one of them needed to be against Dallas. Come on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Or a division opponent or something.
Yeah,
I guess you can't do Washington because they're not even the same name anymore.
Well, yeah, they're totally changed.
Although there is a petition apparently to bring it back. But yeah, I mean they look good and they'll pop on the field for sure. I mean, it's going to be cool to see them. I love that look, but you're right. That era was not very good. It was fun, but it was not productive.
Yeah.
That year that Cunningham gets hurt in that first game. Bryce Pop
from Green Bay. Yep.
Yeah. Just
Who do you think their biggest competition is going to end up being in the NFC?
I still think San Francisco. Yeah. You know, the loss of people don't talk about coaching losses that much, but I'm big on D'Amico Ryans. So I think that there'll be a tangible effect there where I think they'll still be a very good defense. Obviously they had Javon Hargrave, but him moving on, I think that's a little bit tough to replicate. And you still don't know what's going on with the quarterback situation and what Brock Purdy's going to end up looking like, but they're stacked. Every once in a while, there'll be a sleeper team that comes out, but as we know, guys, like most of the quarterback talent is in the other conference.
Yeah.
So even though we talked about how difficult it is for a team to repeat and get back to the Super Bowl, it's like, I don't know, there doesn't seem to be a ton of at least visible obstacles in Philly's way. They still come in with arguably the best quarterback, probably the best roster in the conference. So they're set up pretty well, but it still looks to me like San Francisco and Dallas are going to be the two teams that they have to contend with. But every once in a while, there'll be a team that creeps up.
Yeah. Maybe those Detroit Lions. This might be their year.
Maybe. I'm actually a big Justin Fields guy too.
Are you?
I don't know how the rest of his roster, whether he can carry them along or not, but watching him live, I was like, this dude's a star. I don't know why people aren't talking about him. Like he's freaking good. So that's one guy. I don't know why he gets slept on nationally, I feel like, but Justin Fields could be that guy that takes a leap like Hurts this year for me.
Interesting.
Wow. The division is just basically the Eagles and the Cowboys. And then, you look at it, Tim, last thing for you is NFC, if you've got that home field advantage, it'd be so great to have an NFC championship game with the 49ers coming across. All the bitching and complaining the players on the 49ers, the fan base has been doing, taking shots at Philly. Oh, we would have won had we not been on our fifth quarterback. Well, you were. And that game wasn't even particularly close, but that would be great theater, as they say.
That would be amazing theater. And I don't know why they're handling themselves like that. Is that a reflection? Does that go all the way to the top? I can't understand why they.
That's not John Lynch, though, right?
Yeah.
Man,
wouldn't think.
I don't know. It's weird because you don't think of that organization that way typically, or most of their leaders. So I don't know why they've had such a hard time grasping the fact that Philly just kicked their ass. And it wasn't just like Purdy magically left the game. Like he got knocked out of that game. He got knocked out of that game by
Hassan Reddick, wasn't it?
Edge rushers. Yeah. So it's like, I never understood that. But, the Eagles will take all the bulletin board stuff that they can get. I don't know if you saw Jalen Hurts' screen shot that he has on his phone. When your phone gets to that lock image, like you have that one stock image, and it's him walking off of the Super Bowl field with the confetti coming down. So we know what his motivation is. He's always looking for something. Teams are always looking for something. And San Francisco week, you can bet there's plenty to draw from there.
Nice. Wow. Do they have any of those? What do they call those practices where they practice against the other team for 3 days before they play them in a preseason game? They doing that this year?
Yeah. So they got a couple before their before they're doing 2 of them here in Philly, so we don't have to travel for those.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
With who?
Yeah. So we got I think it's Cleveland and Miami.
Okay.
Yeah.
So only 3 preseason games again, though, right?
Just the 3.
Yeah.
So all good, man. Yeah. So nice. the Browns and the Colts, excuse me. So
okay.
This year, so we'll look forward to that.
Well, this is great catching up with you, man.
Yeah.
Boys, good to see you.
I screwed it up, and I said Thursday. I meant today. I'm an idiot, and you pulled it off in quick order. And who was it? Was it Joey B? Says that you, me, and Har are all visiting the same lens crafters, apparently.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get a package deal. What do you think?
I do need some new ones.
Maybe a sponsorship or something.
Yeah, some new frames.
I could use them.
I can't get different ones because all these logos for my Flyers shit has me with these are called horn-rimmed glasses.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to change all the logos if I update.
Some good looking specs out of you, though.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but every time I go back, the prescription gets stronger.
Oh.
I mean, I can't see a thing when I take them off.
Yeah, I'm feeling that too now. I just started using like reading glasses over the last couple of years, and the guy's like, well, unfortunately, it's never going to get any better. I'm like,
nope.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And those things make your eyes like get progressively worse in a lot of ways. I was doing that too.
Yeah. Can't use them. Yeah, can't read now without them. So it's good times.
Yeah.
All right, Tim.
5 years ago, I could see through walls, man. I can't see shit anymore. Getting old, brother.
It's all good. Well, it's good to be with you guys.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, Tim. Read Tim's stuff at ESPN.com. Follow him on Twitter at Tim. Is it _McManus?
Tim_McManus. That's it.
Awesome. Thanks, brother. Be well, man.
Right,
best to you and the family.
Yeah, the same to you guys.
There he is, Har.
Missed that guy.
Tim McManus. Yeah.
Did a lot of great radio with that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't get caught up in all the emotion of it.
No.
Just factual, measured analysis.
No agenda.
Reporting.
No agenda.
God damn, is he good?
Yeah, he's great. We did some fun radio too back in the day.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. He produced for me and Bruno, and he and I did, shows periodically, because there was a lot of fill-in stuff going on back then. And, we had a day where Tim was filling in, I think, for the week. And it was my day that I had Joe Namath on. And he and I put like a lot into that interview. He gave us a half hour.
Wow.
Joe Namath. It was awesome. Because Tim's like an old school football geek like me. He's younger than me, but he really invested himself in the history of the game and all the details and the minutiae. He knew all of the stuff to talk about, and we had a ball talking to Joe Namath one day.
Yeah, I imagine that's a good one. That is definitely T from the 203 says Tim is great. Maze at midnight with T-Mac.
Yeah, used to have him on. Yeah. No, this isn't a Sacred Heart CYO. Yeah, it is actually a Sacred Heart CYO hat. It is. I was in their golf outing this year.
Is that right?
Yes.
I want to get to this video you sent me it's on Instagram from Crossing Broad.
Yeah.
And this is a great video, by the way. I love that they're doing this. And this is who's doing the stuff here?
It's Pagan, isn't it?
What is it?
Pagan.
Yeah,
Pagan.
yeah, Kyle. He's a big fucking dude, man.
Yeah, he's just roaming around with microphones, getting in people's faces.
But this video is great. This was the video that they put out on Instagram regarding the Eagles Kelly Green jerseys going on sale. I want to play this real quick. I want to talk about it. So here it is.
$1 on jerseys today. Can you beat that? We're here early at Lincoln Financial Field because the Kelly Greens have dropped. People have been out here since 5 a.m. tailgating this for a jersey release. Just a fan base that's absolutely built different.
Birds!
What time did you get here?
Birds! 3:20 this morning.
You got a lot of energy for being up at 3:20 in the morning.
Birds!
People were asking, like, hey, why don't you just go on Fanatics? Why go to the pro shop?
Plus, you can never get through in those things. You got to come in person and be the first one in line, like me. Go
Sir, did you call off work for this?
No comment.
Dropped the kid off early today.
Yeah.
You know, teacher wasn't in the edge. Dropped her off.
What are your favorite memories of Kelly Green? Wasn't alive. You guys know the Taylor Swift concert was last month, right? How cool are the Kelly Greens going to look in the Super Bowl this year?
Man, I might cry.
Are you ready to do whatever it takes?
I see the last medium jersey, I might have to throw the HBK kick. I might have to do it.
We been on Mondays.
Yeah.
Here she come in my room talking about, you want to go get a Kelly Green jersey? I'm like, no, I don't.
Who are you looking for?
Mailata.
Graham.
Kelsey.
Hurts.
Either Hurts or Landon Dickerson.
Jalen Hurts.
I'm probably going to go with the classic Hurts.
Contrary to popular belief, no shirts, no service don't apply on Jersey Reveal Day.
Nah, not today.
How many jerseys do we end up getting?
I don't know. I spent $1,500. That's all I know.
I love it. I love it.
All right, there it is, Harry.
$1,500 for that woman. How about that?
Could you handle yourself with a broad like that?
No. What are they, about 300 a piece? So she bought 5 jerseys.
Yeah, sounds about right.
They're probably about 300 a piece, I'd imagine.
Yeah, for the authentic.
Yeah, because they got the sewn on letters, the sewn on, nameplate, the eagle patch, on the sleeve. I mean, it's
Unbelievable.
you can't. I don't think you can walk out of Fanatics with an authentic that's less than $300.
No,
That's a
I don't
real
think you can do
authentic.
it. Yeah.
Not the Bobo authentic.
I give credit though, like Kyle Pagan and Crossy. Like those videos are great. That's a good video.
Yeah. Now the
Nice job.
T from the 203 says the Nike game jersey is $130. $130. That's it.
I'm not buying that.
I don't think that's the jersey that woman was buying.
He says
She spent $1,500. What'd she buy? Like 12 jerseys?
yeah, seriously. He said that Nike limited is one limited edition.
So you got to have the stitch numbers.
Yeah. You can't go with the iron-on shit.
That's what I'm saying. You get this
Silk
stuff with
screen.
Yeah.
I'm not into that. Real quick, let's send out some congratulations, Harry.
Oh yeah, to our fearless leader.
Yeah,
Colin. Yeah,
spent all those years in Carolina with Matt Rule. Matt Rule. But recently signed a deal with the Minnesota Vikings.
Right.
How about Colin?
About a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, just before camp, I saw that come across, and I sent him a text. And so he's going to be. I guess he's still going to do some of his podcasts when he gets some downtime. And according to Tim McManus, these guys have a little more downtime than I thought they did.
He might be doing a daily show at this point, huh?
9 practices? Are you serious? No wonder the games in September look like shit.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean? They're essentially preseason games that count.
It's become a war of attrition because you got 17 games. You got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
You can't take any extra hits.
Yeah.
But congrats to Colin. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy that wasn't sure he was going to have a pro career at all. Transferred from Florida to Temple.
Had injury issues.
Yep. But he's a good dude.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And a good blocker and a great locker room guy.
Yep.
And, I thought Temple should have used him in the passing game more often, especially in the red zone, because when he was given opportunities, he caught the football.
Yeah. Speaking of Temple, Harry.
Yeah.
I got to get your thoughts on the new Temple TU logo. I lost it on my screen. There it is.
There it is.
What do you think of that, Harry?
Now, a buddy sent me a text with this, and then I went on Al Scoop and was reading some of the reviews and looked at some of the promo videos that I guess they put out on social media. I like it, except it's a little busy. Like, to me, I think that's a diamond. That's the shape of a diamond. And diamond is a big term at the university because the founder was acres of diamonds or something, was one of the famous sayings. So a diamond is historical for Temple University. So I like that they have that. And then the new owl, I like. Having the T so big and right jammed in there, I kind of think they could have done without. It's a little much, but I like it overall. If you're going to say yes or no, I'm going yes.
The T doesn't match the owl per se. They've stayed with the T the way that it's always been.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that the history of the diamond when it came to Temple. To me, it looks like a shield. Like the Irish shields. And,
right.
For your name and stuff. That's what it looks like. I like it. I think it looks good. I really do. I love the owl. I think the owl looks menacing. So I'm on board with it.
Yeah, it's Russell Conwell was the guy who wrote.
Not Tommy Conwell.
No, Russell H. Conwell, and he wrote Acres of Diamonds, and he was one of the he was a Baptist minister way back in the day, and was the first president of Temple University.
Okay,
so that's where it comes.
I think it looks good. I like it. By the way, Tommy Conwell, big listener to the pod.
Yeah, well, he did a show along with a couple of other bands. Because David Usikinen, who's back from Europe now, they're getting ready to go out on the American part of their tour, and his wife were at this thing. I think it might have been in Upper Marion, right near where we live. I didn't even know about it, or I would have been there.
Yeah, July 28th.
Okay, that's so you knew about it.
Yeah, Tommy sent me a note saying he had concert under the Star Series.
Well, you didn't send it to me.
I should have sent that. That's bad work by me here. So,
I think it was like right across the highway from where I live.
Yeah, you should have been there. It's an outrage that you weren't.
It really is.
Come on the podcast now as a guest.
Had I known about it, I would have been there.
Yeah. Tommy's great. We're gonna get him on. We get to get him to play and the whole thing. Yeah. Speaking of music, I got this tweet here from Joey B.
Mm-hmm.
He says that tweet from me a few days back with the old days dime bag picture. Mm-hmm. He said I look like a young Andre Agassi.
Yeah, he's got a fair point because I saw the tweet. Yeah, you got the bald head, the nice bald head, and it was back when Agassi, after he had all that rock and roll kind of hair, he shaved his head. Yeah, and he had the facial. He had a little. Didn't he have? He had some facial hair.
Yeah, well, he had the beard, but that was post flow.
Yeah, post flow, but the eyebrows and the eyes, it and the bald head looks a little Agassi-esque. I could see that.
Okay,
yeah,
I'll take it. Agassi shagged some heavy hitters.
Yeah,
but there's me and Dimebag back in the day. You got the Black Label Society hat on. Of course, Dimebag will not be in attendance tomorrow night, Harry, when I am at the Camden Riverfront, whatever they call the stadium now, to see Pantera and Lamb of God. That will be tomorrow night, Harry.
Oh,
I got a ticket if you want to come.
Now you should take Kevin Kincaid if he's not already going because he likes that stuff.
I'll text him. I guarantee he's going.
You think so?
Yeah, no doubt. I'm going with my old college buddy Dell, who lives in the area. He actually lives in Preston Elliott's neighborhood on some golf.
Oh, Letterack.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to go up there tomorrow afternoon. And he's a guitar player as well. We're going to cause some destruction, a little pre-gaming, and then we're going to head over and catch Lamb of God, and then see Pantera at the Camden Riverfront.
Well, you should text Kincaid because I guarantee you he'd like to go to that show.
Yeah, I got.
He's into that.
I didn't even. Totally forgot about the show. I got a couple of DMs.
So did I. I forgot about it too.
Yeah, I think they're playing Friday at Giant Stadium or whatever with Metallica.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm like,
just gonna say
that show.
That had to be a big with a big name band. Yeah.
So I'm looking.
Verlander traded from the Mets back to the Astros. How about the Mets? They bring in all this pitching, and they had an over/under of 94.5 way back before the season started. And I was still working with Aton doing the gambling show, and I couldn't take the under fast enough on that. I put that out there way back in I don't know February, March, whenever the over/unders came out. They stink. Yeah, I knew this was going to blow up.
Yeah, and Verlander's fantastic.
Yeah, well, and Scherzer they traded to the Rangers.
Yeah, so. Didn't they talk about Verlander maybe coming here at one point? Was he rumored?
I don't know.
Everybody was getting all excited for his wife.
Yeah, I don't know. Kate Upton.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
All right.
So we'll see what the Phillies haven't done anything yet. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, well, maybe they'll end up with a bag of fudge. I mean, that wouldn't be all that bad because the original Fudge Kitchen is the official sponsor of Not For Long Media and the Odgies podcast. You know them, a staple of the Jersey Shore. They got 6 locations: Cape May, Wildwood, Stone Harbor, and Ocean City. They make all of their fudge in the store, guaranteeing a delicious product. So stop by and let them know that N4L sent you. If you're not able to visit in person, that's not a problem because they're going to ship it across the USA. If you ask them, be sure to check out their website, fudgekitchens.com, the original Fudge Kitchen, shipping fudge and sweet treats across the country.
There you go. Check it out. Joey B goes, Harry's reaction to Pantera Lamb of God, phenomenal. That was the whole predicate of this podcast. Just like, jeez. Pantera and Lamb of God.
Oh, God.
Would you grow up?
I know. Seriously.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how to go into the show mentally, Harry, because two of the core members, obviously, of Pantera aren't going to be there. Dimebag was killed way back in the mid-2000s at the Al Rosa Villa nightclub in Columbus, Ohio.
Mm-hmm. It was a shooting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First song, guy, when they were playing his Damage Plan, walked up and Nathan Gale killed him and several other people. And Vinnie Paul, his brother, the drummer, passed away in Vegas a couple of years ago.
Not too long ago. Maybe 2 years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago?
It might have been like 3-4 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
But they bring in Zach Wilde, who, of course, plays with Ozzy so often in Black Label Society. One of Dimebag's best friends, and probably the only man on the planet that can play those guitar parts, although a little bit different, but close, than Dime. And Charlie Benanti from Anthrax playing the drums. I've watched a bunch of videos, including from Burgettstown the other night out in Pittsburgh, and they sounded great. They look great. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. Never thought I'd see some of these songs live again, like Slaughtered.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Full review coming up on the next OG's podcast. Actually.
Oh, can't wait.
Along with some listener reviews, because we're out of time to do them today. All right.
Well, we had to go in depth with T-Mac.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah.
And I got to take a screaming piss. So.
Oh, great.
Time to wrap it up.
That walnut-sized bladder has had enough.
Yeah, I'm heading out to the driveway, Har. We'll give it a good rinsing.
Why don't you just open up the window and just hang it out back?
I don't have a window in the studio.
Oh, no?
Because I'm in the loft of my garage.
Oh, that's right. You're in the loft.
Yeah.
See, I got windows back there. I could just open up the window and just go right out the window.
Hang trowel.
I took the screens out. Yeah.
Take the screens out so you don't piss through the screen.
Right.
I'd go right through it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. One last thing. Joey B says, any F1 updates from Vegas venue? Hearing there are some naming rights issues with casinos on the circuit. Yeah, they're trying to charge any business that's along the route of the race that can see it an ungodly amount of money because they can sell like that space to watch the race. And F1's trying to gouge them. Which is, look, if I got a business and you decide to put a race on the street where my business is, I'm not paying you anything.
Yeah. Why? What?
Yeah.
What kind of sport are you watching?
Yeah. I'm not in love with the track either. I've driven it now in the simulator, Harry, quite a few times. And I don't love the circuit. I'm not a big fan of the Vegas circus. So I'll get back on the Sims and see if I can take a liking to it. But yeah, I'm not a big fan. So
have you been watching the Women's World Cup?
I have not, but there's been a little bit of outrage. I know Carly Lloyd is weighing in.
They stink. They barely beat Portugal. Not Portugal. Was it Panama? I don't even know what country it was. It was a country that shouldn't have been even on the field with them, and they got saved evidently by an attempted goal that hit the post. They went to overtime and nobody scored.
Somebody tried to go bar down, Har?
They've scored. They registered 5 points in the first round. Portugal and Vietnam were the two. Yeah, that was their group, and the Netherlands. I think they tied the Netherlands too.
Not exactly soccer powerhouses, right?
No. Well, the Netherlands, their men's team is good, and Portugal, their men's team is good. But I mean, for women, some of these countries are not as far along as maybe ours was. So
yeah.
But they're getting all kinds of grief. Even Carly Lloyd is taking them to task for their lack of effort and their lack of passion. So.
Yeah, she was giving it to him. I saw that on Twitter. So
yeah,
I did not see that on Threads because I have not logged on to it since.
You haven't?
No.
Now, yeah. Speaking of that, now did you see that it's now X and it's been updated on the iPhone app too, not just the computer.
Yeah.
What do you think of X?
I don't know.
Do you think this is just a placeholder for something else?
Like what?
Well, I don't know. Like maybe he just wanted to get away from the the Twitter bird and just distance himself from that until he figures out a better name.
Yeah, I mean the X isn't bad. It's
Yeah.
It's got to be real simple. I think I don't know why he does what he does.
Yeah.
Frankly, he's got too much money.
He
He does what he does. So, yeah, I don't know, but I try and stay off it as much as possible. It's just,
yeah,
you have to. I mean, it's just out of control. I did see this, though, Harry. Did you see that? We should mention this before we get off, that Bob Kelly, Jammo, the traffic reporter for Fox Philadelphia, he got sucker punched in Seattle.
What?
You didn't see this?
No.
Yeah, he got sucker punch at a bar in Seattle. He's a Big Shore guy, as we all are for the most part around here. Some guy just sucker punched him at a bar or outside a bar. An Orr House manager confirmed that an altercation took place over the weekend, during which it appears to be a charity event for Kelly's Kids, Bob Kelly, and which is a nonprofit that collects toys and donations for area pediatric hospitals. And somebody, a local Sea Isle guy, just suckered him, cut him.
Jeez.
Yeah. Wow. A young man filmed himself pouring beer on Kelly's shoulder and head, according to sources with knowledge of the incident. When Kelly reacted in an attempt to swat away the beer, sources said the man filming punched him in the face.
Jeez. Well, there's a lawsuit.
And he was bloodied up.
You're going to sue him, right?
I don't know. What are you going to get from some guy like that?
I don't care.
What are you going to get, a scooter?
I don't care.
Some douchebag that lives down the shore?
I'll take whatever I can get.
Boogie board hair?
Yeah. Whatever I can get.
Yeah. Well, best of Bob Kelly. Not the Hound.
No.
Hound.
Can you imagine if the Hound... Yeah, the Hound got sucker punched. The Hound's throwing down.
He would have pulled that kid's jersey over his head.
Right over his head. And just started beating the tar out of him.
Schultz the hammer would have had his back too.
Yeah, because that kid better hope the straps were connected.
Yeah.
To keep the sweater on.
Hound's got hands like Foster's beer cans.
I know.
He has huge mitts.
I know.
All right, let's wrap it up there, Harry. We've gone on long enough. Great stuff. Special thanks to Tim McManus from ESPN, ESPN.com for joining us as well. And we'll be back next week. We'll bring you episode 70 of the Odd Jesus podcast. Last word to you, Harry. Anything?
Why do you always do this?
Well, you should know what
I've got no last words.
All right. You've said enough.
I'm done.